Welcome everybody, my name is Ankit Patel. Today we are going to study about why sexual reproduction is required, right? And second topic is sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Now let's come to the first question, first topic, why sexual reproduction is required. To answer this question, first we need to discuss about why variation is required. Now we have already discussed about this topic in previous video, but let's revise about this, right? Variation means varieties, means choice for the nature to select a better candidate for survival, right? Because any adverse condition in the environment can come at any time, right? And if a population of species is having different type of variants, where different variants are having different capacities or abilities to survive in different type of adverse condition, then that species would be able to survive in such adverse conditions. Some of them would be able to survive in such condition, which are having such kind of adaptation or ability to protect themselves in such conditions, right? So that's why this kind of variations or different type of variants are required in a population for survivability of a species. Understood? Now this variation is also required. So we have understood about why variation is required. Now let's talk about why sexual reproduction is required. So we have two types of reproduction. One is called asexual reproduction and another one is called sexual reproduction. What is occurring in asexual reproduction? One mother cell is there. Now in every asexual reproduction, cell division is occurring, right? So a mother cell is there. In this cell division, a mother cell is there. This cell undergoes division in which two cells are forming. Now before this division, DNA present in this cell is undergoing copying mechanism, right? And this copying mechanism is very exact. So here in a cell there will be two copies of DNA, and during cell division each copy will distribute to each daughter cell. And that is how they are identical to each other, as well as, daughter cells are identical to each other and identical to their mother cells as well. Understood? So here very less frequency of variation. In fact, there is no chance of variation in here. But in rare phenomenon, let's say 1 in 1,000 cases, in copying of DNA, sometimes errors are occurring, right? And due to these errors, there is change in DNA molecule, and the change in DNA molecule most of the time lead to death of the cells. Understood? It leads to death of a cell. But in rare phenomenon, this change in DNA molecule can cause a better change in that individual, a better change in that cell, which makes the cell better than others. Understood? So it would survive better than others. Right? And it will add it in a population as a new variant. Understood? Because it have altered DNA, that is changed DNA, which is having error in it, and this error is actually bringing a better thing in that, right? Now this is 1 in the million case, right? Let's say this is 1 in the million case. If error is occurring in 1 in 1,000 case, then error which brings a better change is 1 in the million case. Understood? So this is rare of the rare phenomenon, right? Where this change, error in this DNA copying mechanism brings a better change. Understood? Which lead to produce or production of variations. Understood? Or variants. Understood? In a population. So this is about asexual reproduction, where variation is very least phenomenon or rare of the rare phenomenon. But when we talk about sexual reproduction, what is occurring over here is this process is very complex, where DNA from two different organisms unite and comes in a cell, and now this new cell is having DNA from two different individuals. Understood? One that is from mother and another is from father. Understood? So that what is occurring in the sexual reproduction. Understood? Now we are having a bit confusion right now how this DNA get mixed with each other from fathers and from mother, how this DNA come close to each other in a cell. Understood? Now what is happening over here is lower organisms have also evolved, multicellular organisms which have tissue organization have evolved in such a way that now they are having a special cell lineage which are able to produce gametes. Now what are these gametes? Now we have talked about DNA molecule, right? DNA molecule are present in the form of chromosomes, right? In humans, in a normal cell, there are 46 such chromosomes, which are nothing but DNA molecule, right? Now this 46 chromosomes are present in our each cell, but gametes are having just half number of it. That is, gametes are having just 23 chromosomes in it. Understood? So both this male individual and female individual are producing different gametes. That is, male individual. Primarily, organisms are producing same type of gametes, right? That is, lower organisms like algae. Algae is producing same type of gametes, right? It is neither male nor female, right? And when this gamete fuses with each other, now all of them, all the gametes have half number of chromosomes, that is half content of DNA molecule. When they unite with each other, they form zygote, right? And this zygote is having full content of DNA molecule, but half DNA is from parent and half is from another parent, right? So there are two parents involved here. Understood? One is, there are two different parents. Understood? Now, in higher organisms, these gametes are not identical, but there are two different type of gametes, male gamete and female gamete, right? When we are talking about higher organisms, it is like human, right? And other mammals, amphibians, reptiles that we are seeing in our day-to-day life, in all of these organisms, there are male and female gametes. Even in plants, there are male gametes and female gametes, right? And these two gametes are very, very different from each other, where male gamete is motile, female gamete does not have motility. Male gamete are small in size, higher in number, while female gamete are lesser in number, but having it is having, in size it is larger, right? As it is having nutrition also in it. Understood? So this two different type of gametes, and when male gamete comes to, as it is having motility, when this comes to female gamete, it get fuses, then their nucleus get fuses, in which DNA content is there, and both of them are containing half content of DNA. That is, sperm cell is of a male individual and egg cell is of female individual. When these two gametes are fusing with each other, having half content of DNA, they form zygote, which is having full content of DNA, which is having content of DNA, as much content of DNA as it is there in a normal cell. And this zygote develop into a whole new individual. Understood? So that is how sexual reproduction is occurring in higher organisms or in sexual reproduction, right? Wherein gametes are having half content of DNA, fuse with each other to form zygote having full content of DNA, and this zygote then further develop into a whole new organism. So here what is happening, that here from male parent some DNA comes, from female parent a part of DNA comes, portion, right? 50-50 portion of DNA from parent, from mother, from father, from mother, right? Both of this DNA get fused with each other. Understood? Let's say father have content A, B, C, D, E, F, right? And mother have content S, T, U, V, W, X. Understood? Now, from male parent, from father, what content of DNA comes? A, then C, then E comes, right? And from female, T, V, and Y. Understood? U, V, Y. Understood? Now these two DNA content get mixed with each other, and what they form now is A, T, then C, V, and E, Y. Understood? So that kind of DNA content is having by new individual, which is formed through sexual reproduction. And as DNA content get changed, so this new individual is new variant. So each time in sexual reproduction there is formation of new variant. Understood? And this is very fast or rapid process of variation. That's why sexual reproduction is also required to bring much of the variation in a species. So this is why sexual reproduction is required. Understood? Sexual reproduction in plants. Now we know that flowers are having beautiful corolla, and to protect corolla they are having calyx also, right, to support them. Why this beautiful corolla is present? Are plants doing any charity to us so that we can present those flowers to our friends, to relatives or family members, or to offer God? And why they are having some other parts also, like androecium, stamen, gynoecium? Why these parts are there in flower, right? All these parts are there for the reproduction. No plants are doing charity in any way to us, right? All the process that they are doing is required for their survival only. That's why they are doing all those processes, right? Even producing flower is required for themselves. If flower is attractive, if flower is producing fragrance, if they are having colors, all of them are having some purposes, and this purpose is solely for their survival. Understood? For survival of not an individual, but for survival of the whole species. Understood? Now let's come to the topic, why these flowers are having all those parts and what are purpose of all those parts. But let's study about what are those different parts of flowers, right? Now, flowers have 4 whorls. The outermost whorl is called calyx, which is supporting all other parts of plants, right? Then inner to calyx is corolla, which is having colorful and attractive, and sometimes it also have fragrance, right? And sometimes it is not at all attractive. This part is called corolla. Understood? Inner to it is androecium, and the innermost whorl is gynoecium. Androecium is male reproductive part of flower. Androecium is male reproductive part of flower, and gynoecium is female reproductive part of flower. So flower can be unisexual or bisexual. That means if flower is unisexual, either it will be male flower or female flower. If it is male flower, then it will have 3 whorls: calyx, corolla and androecium. For male flowers, calyx, corolla and androecium. And if it is female flowers, then it will have 3 parts: calyx, corolla and gynoecium. It will have calyx, corolla and gynoecium. Understood? And if it is bisexual flower, then it will have all 4 whorls, that is calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. You must have seen this bisexual flowers, or you may have seen this unisexual type of flowers, right? In papaya plant, unisexual flowers can be found. Understood? Whereas hibiscus is bisexual flower. So we have different type of flower. That is another thing, right? Now, these flowers are having androecium and gynoecium. Let's study about androecium first. What is there in androecium, and why this part, and what is role of these different parts, right? Now, androecium have stamens. Androecium is actually a whole group which is having different units, and each of these units are called stamen. Right? These stamens are again have 2 parts, and filament and anther, right? And on this anther, yellow colored or white colored, having different type of shapes when they seen under microscope, right? These structures are called pollen grains, right? And these pollen grains are carrying cells which will potentially become male gamete. Understood? Or they may have, or this pollen grain, in some of the plants, these pollen grains are already having male gametes, right? If they don't have male gametes, they will have cell which will potentially develop into male gametes. Understood? So they are having, so for now just remember that these pollen grains are having male gametes. Understood? Now what is there in gynoecium? In gynoecium gynoecium is a group in which there are several units. Each unit is called carpel or pistil. Now each of this unit, that is carpel or pistil, are having 3 parts. The first part is called stigma. Then the long slender tube-like structure is called style. It is tube-like structure, right? In stamen, the filament is just a filament. It was not hollow. While this tube-like structure called style is hollow. Then this tube-like structure at the basal region gets swollen, and this swollen structure is nothing but ovary, which is consisting of ovules, and these ovules are bearing female gametes. Understood? This ovule which is present in the ovary, which is there as a part of stamen, basal part of stamen, which is a unit, sorry, not stamen, carpel, which is a unit of whole gynoecium, is called ovule, and this ovule is having female gamete in it. Understood? So understood where male gamete is lying and where female gamete is lying. Now male gamete have to reach to female gamete. So first this pollen grain need to travel from anther to the stigma, right? So it will move from anther to stigma by pollinators. This pollinators can be wind, it can be water, it can be animals or insects, right? For different plants there are different pollinators. For example, for wheat-like plant, wind is pollinator. For plant like hibiscus, insects are pollinators. Understood? Yes, wheat are also having flowers, but they don't look like flowers because here the pollination is done by wind. So they don't need colorful or attractive corolla or corolla having fragrance. They don't require such kind of thing. Why they waste their nectar? Why they waste their nutrition in such things when they don't? When they are when here pollination is occurring just by wind and not by insects, right? But in hibiscus, in plants like hibiscus, pollen grain will be migrated by insects, means pollination is done by insects. That's why here flower is needed to be colorful. Understood? So by this way, this pollen grain is migrated from anther to the style of carpel or pistil, right? And here when this pollen grain reach to the style, stigma, sorry, not style, stigma, here pollen tube formation will occur which will penetrate the style and it will reach the ovary and it will go inside the ovule. Understood? And this pollen tube is carrying male gamete which was present in pollen grain. Understood? And now this male gamete get fused with female gamete which is present inside the ovary of ovule. Understood? And now this ovules are containing male gamete and female gamete. So this inside this ovule, this male gamete and female gamete will get fused with each other, forming zygote. Understood? And this zygote will lead to formation of embryo. And during this time, this whole ovule get transformed into seed. Understood? They will get transformed into seed, having tough covering over it. Understood? Which we call as seed coat. Understood? And over it, which was there as ovary, this ovary will form into fruit. It will transform into a fruit. So what fruit we are eating has actually transformed from ovary part of flower, and the seed which is there present inside the fruit have transformed from this ovule. Now we know that we know that if we want to produce a plant, we have to sow the seeds, right? By sowing seeds, we can crop a plant. Understood? So in this way, sexual reproduction is occurring in plants. One more thing that I have forgotten to discuss is there are two types of pollination: self-pollination and cross-pollination. Now, what is called self-pollination? Self-pollination is a type of pollination wherein pollination is occurring. Pollination means migration of pollen grains from anther to stigma. If pollination is occurring within the same plant, that is either within the same flower or within the different flower of same plant, understood, then it is called self-pollination. And if pollination have occurred between two different individual plant, then the pollination is called cross-pollination. So in this way, there are two types of pollination: self-pollination and cross-pollination. And have you understood about how this reproduction is occurred in these plants, right? If you want to, if you will see this discussion again, if you will see this video again, it will be clear to you that how sexual reproduction is occurring in flower, in plants, and what is role of different plants, different parts of flower in sexual reproduction. Understood, everybody?